Okay, so we're going to spend just a few moments talking about the duties and also rights of agents and principals. All right, so I think this visualization does a good job of detailing the 5 duties that the agent owes to the principal. All right, so we'll run through these briefly. Performance. This really just means that the agent should use due care um, in the affairs of the principal when performing duties for the principal, which really just means you should conduct the business of others as you would conduct your own personal business, or with the same level of care that you would conduct your own personal business. All right. Notification. All right. So if there are opportunities or offers, say you're selling something as a real estate agent or as an automobile, a high-end automobile broker, and there are um, offers that are made on the property. All right, the agent has a duty to notify the principal of those offers and allow the principal to determine whether the offer should be accepted or not. And of course, you can contract around this, right? You can give, the principal can give the agent the authority to um, reject offers below a certain threshold or accept offers above a certain threshold. But generally, absent and subsequent or overlaying contractual agreement, there is a duty to notify by the agent to notify the principal. Um, Loyalty, all right. So you can't, be a double agent that actually represents another party, or you can't represent two principals when their interests conflict, right? The agent acts for the benefit of the principal, right? And if that is not the case, that is a breach of the duty of loyalty, which is actionable in court, which means you can get sued for that. Obedience. Quite simple. You got to follow the rules, the principal's rules set out in the agency agreement. All right. Um, there is a caveat up to the point of legality. So you shouldn't break a law. You have no duty to break the law for your agent, for your principal. But lawful orders you should comply with. All right. And a duty to account. So if I'm a sales rep and I conduct cash sales, I have a duty to keep records and to account for my sales honestly to my principal. All right. So that's the duty of the accounting. All right. And we'll find in a moment that the accounting actually goes both ways. On to the next duties of the principal. All right. Compensation. Well, the principal compensates or pays the agent whatever the agreed upon value was, or, and you may remember this from contract law, if they haven't agreed to a certain amount, then the principal is obligated to pay a reasonable amount for the services. All right. Reimbursement and indemnification. Well, if in the execution of my duties as agent, I am sued or incur an expense in the furtherance of my principal, well, my principal must reimburse me for those expenses, right? So that could be as simple as mileage in and around town if I am uh, driving for the furtherance of the purpose of my principal as the agent. Well, the principal should reimburse me for those. Indemnification, all right? Well, if I'm named in a lawsuit, say a real estate deal goes bad, and as agent I'm named in a lawsuit, well, my principal has a duty to indemnify me if I do in fact, if I am in fact forced to pay a judgment, right? That's called indemnification. Cooperation. This is simple, but it really means that the principal should not do things, work against the agent, or do things to make the agent's job more difficult. Um, the best example here is I'm a salesperson, right? So I'm an agent selling, we can call it widgets, we can call it whatever, selling product for the principal, right? And I have a sales territory, right? And the agreement is that that is my sales territory, and I have the opportunity to sell within that territory, and my principal should not assign another agent to that same territory or otherwise work against me. And that's the duty of cooperation, right? The principal should not prevent the agent from doing the job that they have agreed upon. In that case, the agreement was specific territory. Safe working conditions. All right, so that's pretty self-explanatory. The principal should not send an agent into harm's way, right? We have similar rule for employees, and so safe working conditions. A few things we'll add. Agents' rights and remedies against the principal. So when the fecal matter hits the fan, right, the agency relationship has soured. What rights does the agent have against the principal? All right. Well, you should remember from the legal environment. I'm sorry. Yes, the legal environment of business, 2080. There are remedies in tort. So we're talking negligence is the biggest one. Other, fraudulent things that may be applicable, but the biggest one is negligence. All right. So all of those remedies are available to the extent that the criteria are met. Right. Negligence would be a duty owed, breach of that duty, which causes damages. Right. So if those elements are present, then the agent can sue under negligence tort theory. With contract, we're really talking about breach of contract. You may remember that from 2080 as well. So if the agent, typically the agreement between the agent and the principal is a contract. So if that is breached, well, the agent can sue for breach of contract. All right. I articulated just a moment ago that the agent has the duty to make an accounting to the principal. Well, it can work the other way as well. So if the agent believes that the principal is underpaying, say a sales commission, then the agent can demand an accounting, and that's how that works. All right. Basically a recalculation of commissions or any other financial metric that may be appropriate. No right to specific performance. Right? And all we're really saying here is that absent a contractual agreement, parties do not have to continue to be agent principal. That relationship does not have to continue. And that makes sense because once the agent principal relationship has soured, it's a relationship of trust, right? So specific performance would mandate that the parties continue that relationship. And that may not be ideal. In many cases, would not be ideal. So really what we're saying here is that remedies are going to be limited to past damages, future damages, but not where the court's not going to step in and say you guys have to continue to be business partners. You have to continue your principal-agency relationship. All right. So that's really what that means. Principal's rights and remedies against the agent. All right. So anything of value, any asset that the agent comes into in their representation is, by definition, the property of the principal. All right. So if there are kickbacks, or I think the book uses the term rebates, but if the agent benefits financially from buying something, be it, if I am buying textbooks from a book publisher, right, representing, let's say I'm an agent of a business or a school district, all right, and I'm buying textbooks, and I receive an iPad as a premium for the volume of purchases that I make. Well, that iPad is not mine because I received it acting as an agent for the principal. And so that iPad is held in constructive trust and is legally the property of the principal, right? And I would need to turn that over when requested. Now, that doesn't mean the agent, that doesn't mean the principal cannot allow me to keep that iPad, but absent an agreement to that end, it's going to be needed. It would need to be turned over to the principal. Avoidance. All right. So if I am authorized to go and purchase a certain vehicle for up to $15,000, all right, principal says, you're my agent, I want you to go and buy this car for $15,000, and I go and buy the car, but I pay $18,000 for it. Well, that act has exceeded the scope of my authority. So the principal's not going to be obligated to pay $18,000 for the car. They never agreed to that. The principal can avoid that contract. Now, you might ask, well, I just entered into a contractual agreement to buy a car for $8,000 as the agent. In that case, the agent is still going to be held responsible to the third party that sold the car for $18,000. So the agent would be responsible. The principal can avoid that contract, and the agent is left on the hook. Right? So if you, as an agent, exceed the scope of your authority, the principal can avoid that deal, but there's still a valid contract. You're on the hook for it. That's how avoidance works. And indemnification. Again, this works both ways. So we talked about it from the principal standpoint. If the agent's conduct causes the principal to get sued or otherwise suffer a financial detriment, the principal can sue the agent or even request from the agent that they indemnify them for those costs. All right? Okay. So that's our quick run through of duties, rights, and remedies of the principal and agent.